This is not a normal checkmate, because in order to get it, you need to capture all of your opponent's pieces, promote a bunch of your pawns, move all your pieces back into their original starting positions, force your enemy king into the exact right spot on the board, and then get the checkmate. Therefore, to get this in a real online game against random opponents who resign, lose on time, bully you in Russian, and just randomly leave the game, would be an absolute miracle. So sit back and relax and put this video in full screen, because this is a story of how I attempted to get one of the rarest and most difficult checkmates in all of chess. The reset checkmate.
Okay, first game of the challenge. If I somehow get it this first game, I'll be the happiest fellow.
To start off, I separate this checkmate process into 3 steps so that I could just focus on one piece at a time and hopefully make this whole thing a lot easier. Starting off with just finding the right strategy. You see, in order to successfully get the checkmate, you need all of your starting first row pieces. Now, there's 2 strategies that you can use to make this happen. 1, you can save a bunch of your pawns until the endgame and just promote all of them to the necessary pieces. Or 2, you can just keep all of your major pieces alive so you don't have to promote anything. This is a lot harder to do, but it saves you from having to promote all these pawns. I went with option 1 of just promoting all my pawns in the endgame, which meant I had to make sure I didn't trade out that many pawns during the actual game. And here's where I encountered the first problem.
Okay.
My opponent resigning wasn't even the issue here, because even if I had won my opponent's queen, in order to get the checkmate, I would have had to promote all of these pawns without losing a singular piece, aka impossible. In the next game, something similar happened again.
I'm just trading up way too many pieces. Like, I only have 4 pieces left to my name. That is not good.
But as my good friend Jake from State Farm always says, the third charm is the try, so I thought things would go better this game. But things definitely did not.
Again, we don't have enough pieces to even get this checkmate.
And this is where I realized 2 things. First, I forgot to pay my taxes and was now a convicted felon. But second, and more importantly, I traded off too many pieces in the opening and middle game, so that when we got to the end game, I had no pieces left for this checkmate. So to solve this problem, I decided to try out a few different openings. Starting off with the most basic thing ever invented, the King's Pawn opening.
The issue with this opening, though, is that it's the most boring thing ever invented in the history of mankind.
I still had some hope, but this opening turned out not to be the answer to my problems in life, because this game I lost for reasons completely outside of my control.
I just blundered my queen because I'm mentally handicapped, okay, guys?
In the next 2 games, I didn't even come close to having enough pieces for the checkmate.
Like, we only have 3 pawns left. This is not even possible to get now.
Since the problem was that I was trading off too many pieces, I chose an opening next that would be a pretty passive one.
Okay, that opening obviously is not working, so we're gonna try a different one, where we move out our knight, and then our bishop, and then castle early.
I actually had more hope for the King's Indian opening since it was pretty passive at the start and it would allow me to save my pieces for the endgame. And in this first match, things were going pretty well, and I had all the necessary pieces until my opponent resigned. Now don't worry, I had plans later on which would make sure my opponents didn't resign, but for now I still had to find the right opening.
We're still gonna try this opening a few more times just in case it might work.
This game was going even better than the last one, and I still had a lot of pieces alive.
We actually might be doing pretty good here. We do have some pawns that we possibly can promote. Okay, you know, maybe this opening is what we're looking for in our lives.
This was in fact not the opening we were looking for in our lives because I completely failed in the next game.
Okay.
If I was going to get this checkmate, I needed an opening that can consistently get me into a good endgame.
Okay, this opening is definitely not what we're looking for in our lives.
So next, I tried the cow opening, which was one of the worst decisions of my life.
Yeah, that opening is definitely not what we want in our lives.
None of my openings had worked, so I decided to look at the game where a man by the name of had gotten this checkmate. Now this Grandmaster was actually the person who created this reset checkmate, and this is the opening that he used. So I just decided to copy him. It took me a while to get used to this opening, but once I did, the game ended up going really well, and I had plenty of pieces, until this happened.
Okay.
And for the black pieces, I just used my default opening, which was the French defense. And surprisingly, this was actually just as good of an opening, and I thought it was looking great this game until my opponent did this.
Okay, we won his rook.
But what is not sad is that we are rapidly growing in subscribers. So if you guys want to be here before we reach 100,000 subscribers, go ahead and subscribe so that you can say that you were here before we reach 100K. But back to the game, because I had found the 2 openings that I liked, and they were actually going really well.
Alright, this guy's just giving me all the pieces. I'm up 6 points of material.
The only issue was, now people were resigning a lot more.
We might be encountering the resigning problem.
I was also eating grapes while I was trying to get this checkmate, just if you were wondering. But for this resigning problem, I had 3 things that I would try. First, just playing low-rated people since they don't resign as often as high-rated players. Second, I would try just asking them in the chat not to resign. And the third one was a secret one, which I'll show you later on in the video. But already using the first strategy of playing low-rated players was making a huge difference.
Alright, we're getting a very good attack here early on. This was the goal of playing these low-rated people. I'm also 488, so I guess I'm low-rated also. And I feel like I say this in every video, but the reason why I'm low-rated is only because I do these weird challenges. And I kind of lose a lot of ranking points doing them.
And after this, I just kept on winning pieces, and even though my opponent was completely and utterly losing, he was still playing a game and had not resigned. And now that we were in the endgame, I just had to promote all of my pawns, and I would just have enough pieces to get this checkmate.
2 bazillion IQ strategy. He's gonna go here, we're gonna go here. There we go, just like that we win his bishop. Okay, this is perfect actually. Wait a second. Wait a second, folks.
This made me want to commit several war crimes on the nearest civilians, but this was the closest I'd gotten so far. As long as I didn't mess up like this again, I knew I would get it. The next game, my opponent was having some brain cell malfunctions.
Alright, I mean, he gives us checkmate in 1. We don't want that though. Ooh, he gives us checkmate in 1 again, but again, that's not what we're going for.
And then he decided just to leave me, and I was very sad. The next game though, I was absolutely violating my opponent, and I thought this might be the game. And while I played this game, you guys might have noticed that I haven't been uploading as much as usual on this channel, and that's because I'm working on a pretty big project, which I'll let you guys know about soon. But just know that something big is coming, so be prepared.
Alright, we're up 5 points of material, now we just gotta kind of take all of my opponent's pieces. Yeah, we just win the queen here. As long as this guy doesn't resign, we're definitely getting this check. Alright, to solve this resigning problem, I had 3 main solutions, which was 1, playing low-rated people, and obviously that's not working. But the second one is just asking my opponent in the chat not to resign. So if I start winning a lot, I'm just going to ask them not to resign and hope that works.
Since my opponents were now resigning at a very high rate, I now employed this second tactic, which I thought may work.
You get a free knight. Alright, maybe I should ask him now. I feel like this is the right time. Yeah, he also gave me a rook.
I don't really know what was going on here in the chat, but my plans of asking my opponent not to resign did not work at all.
Clearly that plan does not work. Let's move on to the next one.
So now it was time to try my third secret tactic, which was letting my time run very low, so that even if I was winning by a lot of material, my opponent would not resign but keep playing because he would think that he could beat me on time. And it was because of this strategy that I got into this game. I basically just watched Instagram Reels and made about 1 move every minute, and this allowed me to get into an endgame where I was winning by 12 entire points of material, but my opponent was not resigning because, well, I had 30 seconds to win the game. I had just the right amount of pieces to promote and get this checkmate. But there was now a new problem.
The only issue now is this guy might run out of time, and we cannot have that. No, I think this guy's gonna run out of time. Oh my gosh, this guy's gonna run out of time. I mean, we're so close.
If that guy had had more time, I was confident that would have been the game that we would have gotten the checkmate. But we were closer now than ever. I knew the opening to use, what strategies was best, and even how to stop people from resigning. Or at least most people. Some people still resign no matter what you do. I knew this was the final stretch of this challenge, and since I knew all the best strategies, all I had to do now was find the right opponent who would allow this to happen. But this was getting difficult.
I hate my lasagna.
That is, until I got into this game against Lalik 299, and things started off very well.
Okay, this guy's already blundering somewhat heavily.
Since I was already up so early on, I asked him not to resign. He responded in Russian, so I used Google Translate to interpret what he said, and responded using Google Translate, asking him not to resign. And this was actually working, since I made it into the endgame up 20 points of material, and had high hopes of getting this checkmate.
Technologically, if we could just get rid of all our pawns, we would have all the right pieces to get this checkmate.
And my Russian negotiating skills were actually paying off, because after taking every single piece from my opponent, I now only had to promote a few pawns, and I would get this mate.
Now let's get our pieces set up. So, rook's on the edges, king mid. Now we just need him to take my pawns. Nice. And perfection.
However, there was just one slight to severe issue. After trying to complete this challenge for a couple of days, I had focused so much on the opening and other strategies, I had forgotten how to get the actual checkmate. You see, you can actually preview this entire checkmate pattern, which is like a forced mate in 20. And I had known how to do this at the start of the challenge, but now that it was here in front of me, well, I had forgotten how this worked.
We need his king down 1 more.
This was seriously depressing to me, so I kind of just sat there a few minutes and watched Instagram Reels in depression. I had seriously played chess for 2 days straight, finally found the right opponent who didn't resign, used Google Translate to negotiate with him, all to fail in such a miserable fashion. I actually just wanted to quit the challenge here, but if I did, all that work that I had done before would be for nothing. So I knew that I couldn't quit now, but had to keep trying and just find another person like Lalik 299 again. So I began again, and after probably 100 more games, and after this guy left this game, I got into this game against Sturcielli, and I began by just asking him not to resign if I started to win, just so that I wouldn't have to worry about that later on. But already, this guy was losing a lot of pieces.
Okay, this is a free knight. That is a free queen.
This seemed kind of too easy. I was already up over 20 points in material, and I didn't think I would even make it into the endgame.
I'm fully expecting this guy to resign, so I don't even want to get my hopes up about this checkmate.
But after capturing all of my opponent's pieces, I began to promote my own. This guy did start offering me a lot of draws, which had me very scared he might accidentally click the resign button. But the game was somehow still going. This is what everything had led up to. I mean, look how scared I was. I was truly 115% focused here, and after failing that last time, I knew I could not let this happen again.
Here, just do not stalemate, okay? If I mess this up, I will throw myself from the top of a rooftop. Please, please, please. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yes, oh my gosh.
This is the reset checkmate, gotten in a real game against an online opponent and one of the hardest checkmates that I've ever done. And this mate was created by the Grandmaster Aman from this chess channel, so go check them out if you want.